Hello and welcome to Outside Views. Today we're diving into the next major Brexit battleground. This time, the battleground isn't just in Westminster or Brussels. It stretches across the Atlantic, nearly 8,000 miles to the Falkland Islands. These remote British overseas territories with a population of just over 3,600 have found themselves at the heart of a growing economic and political storm. At the center of this dispute lies a humble but economically vital commodity, squid. The Falklands fishing industry, which once thrived under tariff-free trade with the European Union, has been thrown into turmoil since Brexit. But this is about much more than seafood. This dispute reveals the deeper complexities of Brexit's ongoing legacy, the challenges of maintaining Britain's overseas relationship, and the harsh realities of international trade diplomacy. So let's unpack the details and explore why the Falklands and their economic future are so important to the UK's post-Brexit strategy. The Falkland Islands are a British overseas territory located in the South Atlantic. Known for their rugged landscapes and rich wildlife, they are home to a small but resilient community of 3,662 people. The island hold a significant place in British history, particularly due to the Falklands War of 1982, when British forces fought to repel an Argentine invasion, or Argentine. But beyond their symbolic importance, the Falklands are also economically significant. Fishing is the lifeblood of the islands, accounting for nearly half of their GDP. Their primary export is squid, specifically Loligo squid, which is a staple thing in European seafood markets. And in fact, 94% of the Falklands fish exports are destined for the European Union, making the EU a vital trade partner. Before Brexit, the Falklands enjoyed preferential access to the EU market, allowing them to export tariff-free. This arrangement was critical for the island's economy, enabling them to remain competitive in the European market. But Brexit changed everything. When the UK signed its Trade and Cooperation Agreement, the TCA, with the EU in 2020, the Falkland Islands and other British overseas territories were notably excluded. This omission has had devastating consequences for the islands. Under the current trade regime, Falklands exports to the EU are subject to significant tariffs. Squid faces a 6% tariff, finned fish like tuna and salmon are taxed at 18%, and lamb, a smaller but still important export, carries a staggering 42% tariff. And these tariffs have created enormous financial strain. In 2023 alone, they cost the Falklands £15 million. That's a massive blow for such a small economy. And Teslin Bachmann, a seventh-generation islander and member of the Falklands Legislative Assembly, has described the situation as dire. She pointed out that the Falklands' reliance on a single economic sector, fishing, makes even small revenue and the losses there deeply impactful. According to Bachmann, the tariffs don't just hurt individual businesses, they threaten the sustainability of the entire community. To understand why this issue matters so much, we need to look at where Falkland squid ends up, and that's Spain. If you ever enjoyed a plate of calamari in a Spanish seaside bar, there's a good chance it came from the Falklands. Squid from the Falklands is typically caught in joint ventures with Spanish trawlers and landed at the port of Vigo in Galicia. Vigo serves as a gateway for Falkland squid to enter the EU market. However, the tariffs imposed after Brexit have squeezed profits for both Falkland fisheries and their Spanish partners. And this is not just a problem for producers, it's also a problem for consumers. Higher costs for trawlers inevitably lead to higher prices for seafood in Europe. And Bachmann argues that lifting these tariffs would be a win-win for both sides, benefiting Falkland Islanders, Spanish fishing communities, and European consumers. But while the economic logic is clear, the politics aren't anything but straightforward. The economic challenges facing the Falklands are compounded by their geopolitical situation. The islands have long been the subject of a sovereignty dispute with Argentina, which claims them as Las Islas Malvinas. While the Falklands War ended in a decisive British victory, Argentina has never abandoned its claim to the islands. Recently, Argentine President Javier Milei reignited this rhetoric, suggesting that Britain's decision to return the Chagos Islands to Mauritius sets a precedent for the Falklands. For Falkland Islanders, such statements are a reminder of their precarious position. Economic instability, such as the current challenges in their fishing industry, only heightens their vulnerability to external pressures. As Bachmann noted, any reduction in the Falklands' economic prosperity is seen as a win by Argentina. And this makes securing a favorable trade arrangement with the EU not just an economic necessity for them, but also a geopolitical imperative. Prime Minister Keir Starmer has promised to make the Falklands a priority in upcoming reset talks with the EU. He has described the relationship with the Falklands as personal, referencing his uncle's service during the Falklands War. In a recent parliamentary session, he vowed to do everything we can to ease trade barriers for the territory. But turning promises into action will be far from straightforward. The EU has little appetite for reopening the TCA, and any concessions for the Falklands are likely to come with strings attached. Fishing rights, quotas, and environmental standards are all potential areas where the EU might demand something in return. For example, the EU could push for greater access to UK waters in exchange for reducing tariffs on Falklands exports, a move that would provoke outrage among British fishers. Starmer also faces pressure from opposition parties. The Liberal Democrats and other MPs have been vocal in their support for the Falklands, warning against any move that might leave the islands out in the cold. Balancing these competing interests will be a test of Starmer's leadership and his ability to navigate the complexities of Brexit's legacy. The Falklands issue is emblematic of the broader challenges posed by Brexit. The promises of sovereignty and control often clash with the realities of international trade and diplomacy. For the Falklands, Brexit has meant losing the economic benefits of EU membership without gaining any meaningful compensation. For the UK, it highlights the difficulty of disentangling itself from the EU while maintaining strong trade relationships. The exclusions of the Falklands from the TCA reflects a pattern seen across Britain's trade negotiations. In the rush to secure a deal, key details were overlooked, leaving some of the UK's most vulnerable territories exposed. And as Starmer prepares for negotiations with the EU, the Falklands represent a critical test of his government's post-Brexit strategy. Can he secure a deal that addresses the island's needs without sacrificing other British interests? Or will the Falklands become yet another casualty of Brexit's unintended consequences? One thing is certain, the issue isn't just about tariffs or fishing. It's about identity, sovereignty, and the UK's ability to uphold its commitments in a rapidly changing world. The next Brexit battleground has been drawn, and the stakes couldn't be higher. And that's why I say thank you for watching Outside Views again. Stay tuned as we continue to explore the complexities of Brexit and its far-reaching implications for Britain and the world. And if you want to see another video, the next one is right here in the end screen.